Good morning and welcome to the back room. I'm back from the Lake District and it's been a couple of weeks now. I feel like I really got going on starting again at 60, on making an effort to change the quality of my life. And I'm just about to have my breakfast and I thought it would be a great opportunity to share that with you because it's down in that action plan to boost the nutrition that I get in my body and help me have a better day. But in case you haven't been here before, I thought I'd do just a moment of explaining what I'm doing resetting my life. I have done a couple of videos where I've set the scene. I've given the backstory to 10 years of knocks and bangs and general attrition to the quality of my life. But I've also done a video on what I'm going to do about it. And today's video is just going to be very much focusing on doing something about it and hopefully just sharing that with you in the hope that that will help you too. But just before we do the catch up, a lot has been happening and I thought I'd take a moment to share a few things with you because I think they will be relevant to you as well, particularly noting the comments that you've been making underneath each of the videos. So on that point, I do want to say this is very much our space. So I very much want it to be not me just speaking to you or at you. This is a community and I hope that you felt that, particularly in those first few videos. I could feel the warmth and I could feel the commonality in the comments, the challenges that many of us are facing. And I really feel that we have an opportunity here to create something incredibly beneficial for each of us. It's a we. So please do continue to put your experiences and your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll just very briefly say thank you so much for all of the support that you've given so far, and I feel like you're getting something out of it, so if that's okay for you, I'll continue. I've got a little list in front of me of the things I briefly want to touch on, things that have been happening. A lot's been happening before I go into the kitchen to make my breakfast. If my language is stilted, it's because I'm actually really hungry. So I've paused on making my breakfast just to run through these things with you so that we can genuinely do it together. So things I've been doing since the last video, they're definitely relevant to that action plan, which you can download. There's a QR code here. It's completely free, no catches. I've put it in a Ko-fi shop and it is in both A4 size and it's in US size, so 11" by 8.5" to suit your needs. So please do feel free to go and download that and help build your own action plan. A few of the things I've done to, I suppose, really support progress across the 5 areas that I've called out are, well, firstly, so Mike and myself, my husband and I, we went to a place called Lytham St Anne's, which is about 50 miles away. So it's on the northwest coast of England. And it's just a really, really peaceful place to go and get some fresh air and walk on the beach. And it's an amazing place because there's often very few people actually on the beach. The tide works in such a way that when it goes out, you get an enormous amount of sand. So we take Badger, our dog, and we just go for a walk as far as the wetness allows you. It's not one of those where you reach the edge of the water and the waves are coming in. It's one of those where it just gets increasingly damp on the sand. So we go for a walk and we did that. And I think that's really helpful because you get movement. I got movement, I got fresh air, and I got the sense of doing things. And something that's really important in my plan is that I rebuild my confidence for driving. And 50 miles for me is quite a lot as a distance. I know if you're in the US or Australia, for example, those kind of distances are just like crazily small. But here in the UK, 50 miles is not nothing. And I'm working on building up my confidence to drive again. So I committed to doing something and then I suppose stepped into that and did it. I said I was going to drive feeling like I couldn't, but I said I was going to do it and I did it. And I think it shows that if you are I think okay with taking a little bit more of a step into that discomfort zone where there are things that you think you can't do, you believe you can't do them, but you make yourself do just a little bit. I'm not suggesting that you launch to doing a 200-mile return trip, but just doing a tiny bit more that makes you uncomfortable, I think delivers that sense of satisfaction and increased confidence and belief in yourself, and that's why I wanted to share that. Anyway, I had a really lovely lunch. There's a cafe by the beach. The weather was great, the skies were really blue. We were very, very lucky with the weather. And it was quite greasy. I had a really nice fish and chips and I really enjoyed it. And when I have a big meal like that at lunchtime, I tend to tone down what I eat in the rest of the day. So intraday I reduce what I eat subsequently, and that works for me, and that makes me feel like I'm not having, you know, too big a day and too big a blowout. But I really wanted fish and chips, and I haven't had them for ages, and life's too short. Sometimes you have to have what you want, don't you? Shortly after that, Badger has had a planned visit to the vet, and he had 2 teeth out, bless him. So he needed a lot of TLC and mummy cuddles, as I call them. So when he came out of the vets, obviously he was recovering from the anaesthetic, and he's needed quite a bit of help over the subsequent few days, but bless him, he's recovering now. He's doing very well. He's not quite back to where he needs to be, but he's getting there. I had lunch at a friend's, and you may at some point meet this person, I don't know. She is a great baker, and she made this absolutely beautiful pavlova. There's a lot of food in this, isn't there? Food seems to be quite important. I think it's important to a lot of us. Absolutely amazing lunch at hers, and that was up in Preston, which again is in the northwest of England. And I drove again, and it was definitely easier than when I got behind the wheel to drive to Lytham St Anne's. So some of these progressions, that you do progress and you will progress, and I think it's important to remember where we've come from. So I did that. I got a lot of comments on the first few videos on this channel, and one of the comments was, you really need to actually get on that rowing machine that's in my little gym in the front room. And there was a challenge from one of you that if she got on hers, she challenged me to get on mine. So one thing I have been doing, and I do read all your comments, I've managed to reply to quite a lot. I've actually been on the rowing machine as well as the exercise bike. I don't do it every day. So when I do go for a walk with Badger in the morning, I do a big walk. I don't go in the gym on those mornings, but I do about 2 mornings a week of the big walks with Badger, and then I'll probably do 2 or 3 mornings in the gym, and I'm trying to build it up. And one thing I would say is, the more I do, the more and as I do it, I'm thinking this is for me. Because I'm thinking it's for me, it's getting easier to make myself do it. So I think I'm forming habits and laying those patterns down. And again, I think that's quite helpful for helping us move forward and bring ourselves to a different place. This journey is not going to be a quick one, by the way. I accept that starting again at 60 and resetting, which is what today's video is all about, is about making tiny little changes. And we mustn't feel that we're not doing much. We must give ourselves credit for just doing that one action, even while we're doing it. So while I'm tidying, while I'm decluttering, I'm not thinking I'm not enjoying this. I'm thinking this is a positive thing and this is for me. And I just get a little bit of that sense of, what is it? It's not fulfillment. It's a sense of patting myself on the back, that I'm doing the things that I know I ought to do and things that will benefit me. And I just thought I wanted to share that with you today. Very briefly, I went to a school reunion, which was I don't even say how many years ago it was that we last saw each other. But those sorts of events can be quite daunting, and truth be told, 2 years ago there was one with the same group of people and I just couldn't go. And at some point I'll talk through more of the reasons around that. But this time I made an effort to think. I even thought, what am I going to wear at that event, rather than being that person who just grabs anything because they're just in a fluster and they don't know what to wear. So I wore actually the trousers that I've got on and I think it was a pale top, and I found a jacket in my cupboard and I felt quite good. And one of the things I'm definitely doing is making an effort to find my identity in the clothes that I wear. And to just respond to one of the comments I had recently, if and when I do that, I'll do my very best to link the items in the description box down below. The outfit, the part of the outfit I really want to call out is the stripy trousers. They're linen trousers and they came from Marks and Sparks. And I had a look yesterday when I was just having a cruise on my phone, and they are still in stock, so it's a fairly current item. And the reason I really like them is, well, first of all, they fit. And now I'm 5'2", so I'm a little one, and these are perfect in the short style, no adjustment needed. I don't want to buy clothes where I need to A, go to the bother of adjusting them, or B, pay for that. So I look for things that fit off the rail, and they're also a tie at the waist. So I really, really like these. In a minute I'll do my best to see if I can just show you somehow. And I think they work even better with the shoes. Now the shoes that I have found work for me, I want something incredibly comfy. So I found a style of Skechers shoe that give me a bit of a lift. I really like those. And today I'm just wearing a white t-shirt with them. So as I say, I'll try and do a little bit of a show in a minute. This is not my forte, so please bear with me, but I wanted to show you what's working for me in case that gives you some inspiration to find more of your identity through, for me, not wearing just leggings and a sweatshirt, so dog walking clothes all the time. Now I'd love to know what you've been up to, so please do share that down below, and I hope that by sharing it you'll recognise that you are doing things, and that will help you then have the encouragement and the motivation to do more. I've done some crafting in my craft room, so I am going to show you. I'm just going to open the doors on the craft room and show you what I've been doing, show you what I've been making. I've even listed something in my Etsy shop and sold something, and that has gone on its way to the US. So I'll reveal all of that. That is a big journey and a potential source of overwhelm for me. But I am going to address it, and I accept it's going to take a lot of time, and I need to form a bit of a plan for doing that. But basically what I'm going to make myself do is go in the room and do stuff that's constructive. So enough said around all of that. What I will do is I'll make my breakfast, and we can do that together, and I'll show you what the ingredients are and why I'm using the specific ones that I do. And then we'll pop up to the craft room and open the doors and just have a really good look at a few items in there. Hello again. I'm in the kitchen and I'll make the breakfast in a minute. The first thing I want to say is I have never done anything like this before, so I've never made anything on camera, so I'm going to do my best, so please bear with me. I'm also incredibly, not only hungry, but I can feel a headache coming on, which is really interesting really. If I don't eat at the right times of the day, and indeed if I don't manage my blood sugar level, I definitely get headaches. I don't know if that's the same for you. And I think it's one of those things that happens at a certain age. I found that came on slowly, and that what I did for quite some time was I carried a biscuit with a bit of chocolate on the outside in my handbag, so that if I was caught anywhere and I hadn't got the ability to eat, I could dive in my handbag and just grab something, and I wouldn't necessarily eat it all. I'd take a little piece off it and just get my sugar level up. Equally, I definitely couldn't eat the whole biscuit because that would make my sugar level go really high. Not medically out of a range that needed some kind of intervention, so I'm not saying that. But it's one of those things that listening to your body and just thinking, what can I do to help, I think helps, well, the rest of my day. So one of the big reasons I wanted to share this today is because I feel like it's something we can do to give ourselves the best chance for success for the rest of the day. Now, that might be if you're thinking of losing weight, you're trying to manage some kind of, I don't want to say diet, but better nutrition for yourself. But also for me, I very much can tell that food impacts mood. So what I try to do is put together a breakfast that helps me in the best way, have the best day. And so the ingredients that I put in this, I may as well explain this now. The ingredients that I put together are very much with a focus of managing a steady trickle into my blood sugar as much as possible, plus packing as much into my breakfast to give it the best chance of giving my body really good nutrition. So the principles that I apply are, I put in fibre, so that helps a more prolonged sharing of the energy from that food in your blood sugar, keeps you fuller for longer, but also I think helps with mood. I try to put something fermented in it, so I've got some yogurt to show you. It's actually homemade yogurt, and maybe at some point, if you're interested, let me know. I could interview Mike and get the lowdown on how that yogurt is made. I don't make it, I can't claim the credit. So I've got fibre, I've got fermented foods. I had to look at my notes then. And the third thing that's really important is protein. And it's really protein that I find keeps me fuller for longer. So if I think about those three components that I'm trying to pack in, what I do is I choose ingredients that do some of that. Now, I'm never going to be able to avoid totally fat and sugar, and I'm not trying to. You need some of these ingredients, these components in your breakfast. But what I try to do is displace fat and sugar and pack in foodstuffs that give me those first three items that I just mentioned. So the breakfast that I'm sharing today is not something where prescriptively, here's one example of things to put together. I was hoping that if I shared the principles behind what I eat, then you could maybe, if you're interested, put together a breakfast which does a little bit more of the good stuff and a bit less of the bad stuff. Now, we all need fat, and I think if you combine protein and fat together, there's something, I don't know much about nutrition, and I'm on a journey to learn, but there's something about things working together, not in isolation. So I'm going to do some more research and some work to see if I can learn a bit more. But why don't I just share what I do, and then I can get my breakfast, and then we'll go in the craft room. I start with blueberries, and I don't know much about it, but I know the word polyphenol, or I should probably say, with my breakfast, I make life easy by measuring everything. So I weigh, not precisely, I'm not obsessive about this, I weigh everything, and this is one of those sets of scales that's cumulative. So I start with between 40 and 50 grams of blueberries, and I use ones that are frozen, and then I don't have waste because I like to manage my budget. And I'm going to just weigh out between 40 and 50 grams. I'll put the recipe in the description box down below if that helps. Right, I've gone to 51, that's fine. I am going to whack those in the microwave for a minute. So these are now really, really hot. In fact, so hot that I've used an oven glove to take the bowl from the microwave to the scales. They are fairly mushy, and I'm going to add on top some yogurt. So this is homemade yogurt, and I want about, what do I have? I do this by memory, I haven't written it down. I want about 40 grams of that, so a couple of spoons. 1, And there's a reason for the layering that I do, which will become apparent shortly. What I forgot? 46 grams. Right, I've zeroed my scales. So what we've got so far, still very hot, the bowl. And I'm going to go in with a number of layers of cereal. So I'm starting with oats. These are just really cheap oats from the supermarket, and I put them in these, all my cereals that I use frequently, in these green plastic containers. I believe these were from IKEA, very affordable. And the reason I do that is if all of this is incredibly easy to get at, then it makes you more likely, makes me more likely to actually do this breakfast and not just grab something that's less appropriate. So I'm going to do between 10 and 15 grams of the oats. Then I'm going to do about 10 grams of all bran. This is magic stuff. For those of you who remember Audrey Aiton's F-Plan diet decades ago, this was the magic ingredient. Let me zero that again. And I want about 10 grams of those. It doesn't look very much. Between 10 and 15 grams. That's 11. Layering it up. So I have so far got fibre and stuff that gives you the energy really, really slowly. The next thing I want is something that's a bit filling. So I decant my Weetabix into another of these tubs, and I want about, there's half of one here. I just take about a third of my Weetabix. I've got clean hands, crumble that up. There's a few bits in the bottom there, I'll have a bit more. So about a third of a Weetabix. Doesn't sound like much, but it's enough. That's how we're looking. And I use a small bowl because I like to look at my bowl and think that feels quite full. So I go for a small bowl that looks fuller. Then I'm going to add, this is my homemade granola. And we're almost out, so maybe in a video soon we could do a little bit of a make some of this. This is a combination of lots of nuts and seeds, and I forgot, I've got chia seeds in here, I've got pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, walnuts, seedless raisins, that sort of thing. And I'll have about 10 to 15 grams of that. As I say, I'll do a video on how I make that because it's very easy, and then that's all made up. It's got almonds in as well. You can add whatever you've got. And then I think we're at the stage, so being completely candid, I've got, because I bought it a while ago and I want to use it up, I've got some of that crunchy cereal that's got sugar on the outside, and I don't really want to use much of this, but I want to use it up. So I just have a teaspoon of that, and it just gives this a little bit of sweetness. And then I'm ready to layer in some of the extras that I've been adding and I think has been making quite a difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is add something I've been using for about 6 months now, which is called creatine. And I didn't know much about it before then. So this is the packet. The supplier is Nutrition Geeks, and you can find them online. And I've done as much research as I could reasonably do. I feel like they're a really good brand and they're fairly priced. So this is a powder that looks like, well, it looks like icing sugar. And the reason I take it is twofold. Number one, it has some scientific basis for helping muscle release its energy. And with less scientific backing, there is a theory that it helps with mood, and I find that it does. For me, it does. It may not for you. And with all of these, you've got to find what works for you. I'm not medical and I'm not a nutritionist. But I put, you saw me there, put 2 half teaspoons in. I just got a collection of these very handy little measuring spoons from Amazon. I've put 2 of those in there, so it's 1 teaspoon, and that works out to be between 3 and 4 grams, which is what the recommended dose is, I think, for someone of my size. And what I've done is make sure that that is not close to the blueberries, which are hot. So you don't want to put this, you don't want to serve this to yourself in a coffee or anything like that. What you want to do is make sure that it goes into your body in something that's cool. And then I add a few extra things that just zhuzh it up and make a bit of a difference and make me feel like I'm putting good stuff into my body. So this is almond protein powder. It looks like a rough flour really. I put 2 of those in. Again, it turns out to be, I think it's like 3 or 4 grams, not much. So I'm boosting the protein, which we said is something that I believe helps you stay fuller for longer. And then I add a few other goodies. I'll show you my shelf at some point with all of these on, and we'll have a dive into my cupboards and I'll share more of what I've got in my boxes and my tubs. I think that would be a session, a video in its own right. So this one's really interesting. This is, again, it's a powder. This is actually ground linseed, and I put 2 half teaspoons of that in. And what this is, I'll show you the actual raw ingredient. This is full of omegas. So we're often, let's have a chat. We're often told that we should eat fish, particularly salmon, I think, because you get your omegas from that. So this is a vegetable-based source of omegas. So I just put a little bit of that in. What I don't know at the moment is what sort of quantities I should be eating. I don't think I'm overdoing it, but I don't really know how much is optimum. So that's some research for me to do. Like I said, this is all a journey, isn't it? But that's part of the fun, exploring, experimenting, and feeling like we're doing stuff that's good for us. Putting ourselves first. Starting again at 60, putting ourselves first. Yeah, it's some of that. So I've got my linseed in. I said I'd show you the sauce. So in one of my many tubs, so I buy, this is the way I make it most cost effective. I buy packets like this. So this again is buy Whole Foods online. And they are brown linseeds. They're actually relatively cheap. I put them in a NutriBullet and grind them up, and it makes this powder. And the reason I make just a little bit is, from reading, I understand that the nutritional benefit is preserved, not forever. So you want this to be maybe a couple of 2 to 3 weeks old, and then grind up a new batch, and then, you know, put that in a jar and have that ready. So I try to keep it fresh. And then a couple more things. Something my mum used to put on her cereal. So we all like to listen to our mums, don't we? We realise that when we get to 60, they were probably right. Wheat germ. It's a bit sort of flaky consistency, 2 of those. And then I found that I just need something a little bit sweet. So I put a few seedless raisins on top. And by the time I've put all of those layers in, there's actually quite a lot in the bowl. So it feels like quite a lot. And it's very filling. Now, observation, it's dry, isn't it? This is just how I like to do it, because what I do at the same time is I'll have a glass of orange juice and lemonade. So I'll have a glass that would have been full, but I've been sipping away at it. And I'll also have my second coffee of the day. So I get the liquid from here, and I think that's important. The second coffee, by the way, is caffeinated, and my first coffee of the day is not. And that is because I am learning to let my own cortisol level do its thing first of all in the morning, and then let the coffee, the second coffee that's caffeinated, join the party. But that, I think that's another debate for another time. But this is my breakfast. I'm going to eat this, drink my coffee and have my drink. And then I've got a couple of things to share with you including the craft room chaos. Including that craft room chaos that I mentioned. I've done some sorting and I've got some stuff on the landing to show you. I've done some decluttering work and I've been making things. I just wanted to share that with you because that's very much part of this journey, is finding our hobbies and finding things that make us happy. So let's do that in a second after my breakfast. So just before I nip up to the craft room, I thought I'd show you these. These are my, well, they're not mine, they are Mike's lettuces. There's a couple of varieties and they're starting to get to the stage where we can eat them, but unfortunately someone else is having a go at that too. So these are going to grow and provide some really nice salad leaves. So I don't know if you're a gardener or you are having a go at your own vegetables or salad leaves. Let me know in a comment down below. Are you interested in seeing any more of this? I've finished my breakfast and I've drunk most of my second coffee and had my drink. So I actually am feeling a lot better. I can feel the blood sugar balancing and the mood lifting. And I hope I didn't talk a load of rubbish when I was trying to explain that breakfast, because without breakfast in me, I can really talk quite a lot of rubbish. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Let's go upstairs and have a look at the rubbish that I've got on the landing, waiting for my craft room reset, and then we'll go in and look at the desk and what I've been making, what I've been selling, and all of the clutter, all of the chaos. On my craft channel, so my Joey Defee YouTube channel, I'll link it down below, I did 3 videos where I made progress sorting some of the craft room chaos. And one of the things I did was actually declutter, get rid of stuff. And basically on the landing here at the top of the stairs, there's a load of the clutter that's come from the last reset that I did, the last attempt to get a grip in the craft room. So this is what I thought I'd share to begin with and just say where I'm up to. It's just a complete reality. There's all sorts of stuff here. I've actually kept it on the landing here for a few weeks, just so I could show you what the connection is to the last video that I did. I'll link the 3 videos down below if you want to see them. They really are, it's quite scary really, the amount of stuff that I've got and what I need to sort through. So let's just have a peek at what we've got. So all of this stuff is going to go to either recycling, charity shops, that sort of thing. Too many cereal boxes have made their way upstairs, and I think this might be a charity box. I don't know. I don't use this. I bought one of those lights that you put on you, or either on your knee, is it, or to do embossing. So I bought one of those. I've got stuff like that in there. I've got excess books here, so I'm trying to reduce the number of books I've got, and I've actually made quite a difference. Some pencils there that I don't use, a few little punches. So these I bought some time ago. I've got better, I don't need everything. I seem to have 2 of those. Boxes, bits of paper. That's not me. And that's not me. And there's a box. So there's some stuff, it's not a great deal. Let's share the mess. And I've not changed anything in here. This is where we're up to, and this is partly why I wanted to do this second channel, because I am getting a grip, but I need to do more. And just doing a journal tutorial, a craft junk journal tutorial every week wasn't getting me where I needed to be. This looks like an absolute mess, because it is, but actually in all of these we've got, I've shown this on the other channel, various projects where I've been making things, and I keep the instructions as well, so I do process steps for all of them. As you can see, maybe they're in here. So in all of these pouches you've got process steps, and they're all available for free on my Ko-fi page. So pick another, let's pick something over here. This is more typical. Oh gosh. So this is a particular type of journal that I did, and it's got a wraparound cover there but no hard cover.
and most of them have got some kind of closure on the side, and in each pouch I've got the various samples are made up, and probably the instructions, lots of different elements at different stages of construction, and all of this lot here is stuff like that. So I know it's a drop in the ocean, but what I've been doing is trying to finish individual items and then put them on my Etsy shop. And the thing that really slowed me down, so these are the various cubicles, the thing that slowed me down was the postage issue. So it took me ages to work out how to safely do click and drop using Royal Mail so that I could send items to the US without there being any tariff imposed on the customer. And I did actually send one the other day. I did a sample test to one of you. You know who you are. I just did a sample test to test whether I was filling it in right without there being surprises at the other end, and it worked. So I listed one on Etsy and it sold, and I posted that yesterday. So I'll show you my desk and what I've been making to try to get the production line going. So a while ago I came up with a design for what I called a no-sew journal, so one where we don't need to get any needle and thread out to bind the signatures in. And I think it was this one that I'd already made. So this was the sample I did in advance, and I think this is the one that I did actually in the video. So it's covered with, should we open one? It's covered with, let's open this one. Got a closure on the front. Got printables and scrapbook papers have been used to cover or decorate the cover, and then inside the pages are actually made with used envelopes. So I really like upcycling things, and that's what I do in my tutorials on my craft channel. So that's the front. It's incredibly satisfying and doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time to make, although probably the elements in it, some of these I've already made. What have we got? Let's have an example. So one of my envelopes, drop down envelopes for example, is in here, and that's got flippy bits and places to put things and places to write and nice little images, just niceness. Lovely. And it's all quite squidgy because there's lots of layers. So this is a journal where there are lots of pockets, because I turn the used envelopes up and then I cover them, oh, I can't do it with one hand, I cover them with pretty scrapbook paper, other bits of scraps with labels, all sorts of things, and I make extra pockets and fill those. So this is the sort of thing I do, and I have been trying to use up some stuff by making more of these, which I love doing, and that's what I put in my Etsy shop, and that one sold, and that's on its way to Las Vegas. So that was the original one. I've got different designs, it's just whatever comes into my head is what happens. So this one is really quite squidgy. I like the back, and then again inside what we'll have is lots of different pockets and things going on, as you can see. Tags, places to write, pieces of vintage paper. And then this one at the back, I've got an example of my one sheet wonders. So this is something that just flips open. You've got various pockets, bits of paper, places to write, more on the back. So what I did was I deconstructed a ladybird book, and the images are fantastic. I took the pages and I sewed them onto a piece of paper, and that's what I've been using on the front of some of these journals, because those images are just absolutely gorgeous. So they're not copies, it's the actual original page. So you have to get over the fact that you're tearing up a book. But this is what I've been doing, and then each of these is different, and my theory is that I'm using stuff up. So what's inside is using up my scrapbook paper and also my collection of books. I've got images in here, I make other pockets and put those in. So the production line, the theory, how to reduce stuff in my craft room, the theory is there. It's a very slow process, and I know what I need to do is carry on with the declutter. Carry on using stuff up. I need to carry on using stuff up, but that is never going to cut the mustard. I also need to actually get stuff out of the room. And I don't know how to solve it all yet, I would love suggestions, so please leave a comment down below if you're going through a similar challenge. And it might not be crafting, or it might not be creating journals. It might be that you've got something similar with fabric or with wool. I've also got wool in the loft. But what are you doing to reduce the amount of stuff that you've got? Because that is my challenge. That's definitely in my plan, to reset not just this room but the rest of the house, but particularly this room. This is definitely my bête noire. Yeah, I've got a lot to do. There are times when I go in that craft room when I'm really excited, and that's actually most of the time. But there's definitely times when, and I feel it a bit at the moment, the quantity of stuff that I need to do and the situation I'm in now, where I feel I really need to get to, it just does feel, it feels kind of overwhelming. And I don't know if you feel like that about parts of your house too. What I've been doing that's helping is use the plan, so what I call the action plan, the 5 areas that matter most. So this was the template I introduced in my second video on this channel, and you're perfectly free to download that in my Ko-fi shop. I'll leave the link somewhere up here if you'd like to get the context and background as to what's going on here. And I'd love you to come along on the journey with me, with all of us together. This is a community for us. Then just click on the links underneath and go back to videos number 1 and 2. Maybe dip into them and see if they help you. And subscribe if you haven't already, because you're very, very welcome here. I'd love you to come along for the journey. I'll be back again next week. I hope to see you soon.